What's going on, everyone? Welcome into the next entry in our beginner's tutorial for Anno 1800. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at the worker phase of the game, as well as trade route information and how to get yourself through the worker phase without going into debt and without losing lots and lots of workforce. So with that, let's get started. Now, before we start upgrading our farmers into workers, let's take a quick look at our production statistics screen here. So again, that is the control Q. We're going to go there and let's click on consumer goods and take a look at this and just make note of what our fish, schnapps, and work clothes currently are at. So, we're a little over half, right about almost half of our current supply is being eaten up with the demand. Okay, so let's go ahead and upgrade our farmers. Now remember, to upgrade farmers into workers, we need to have at least all three of these filled up, completely green. You do not need happiness needs fulfilled. You just need the basic needs right here fulfilled. So your marketplace, fish, and work clothes. We're going to hit U for upgrade, and I'm just going to upgrade. Let's see. Let's just go ahead and upgrade 4 of them for the moment. Upgrade 4. That is going to unlock the worker tab and some new buildings we can have. Now let's go take a quick gander again over here. Now, as you can see, this has gone up. We're consuming more schnapps, more work clothes, and a touch more fish. It's not much more fish, just a little bit. But we are consuming more schnapps and work clothes. Well, why is that? So the way consumption works in Anno is every new tier, so let's workers, for example, obviously, consumes double the amount of goods of the tier below it. So whereas we were consuming X amount of fish, like let's just say 5 fish, as just an arbitrary number. Okay, 5 is an arbitrary number. We're consuming 5 fish from the farmer. Now we're consuming 10 fish. Okay, that is because consumption is based on the maximum number of people in the home, not on the current number of people in the home. So what do I mean by that? That means that a farmer house with only 5 people out of 10 consumes the same amount of fish and work clothes as a farmer house with 10 out of 10. Okay, this worker house consumes double the amount of fish because it's going to go up to 20 people in the home. Yes, it only has 10 right now, but the calculation is based on the 20. So it's going to consume double the amount of fish. The good thing is that once we move on to the artisan phase of the game, artisans no longer need work clothes, fish, or even a marketplace. So you don't have to worry about providing those goods anymore. The artisans will need the things like sausages, bread, and soap, though. So those 3 things right there will be double consumed by the artisans, but you no longer have to supply work clothes and fish to your people. So just be aware of that. When you are upgrading into a new tier, be prepared to have additional goods that are going to have to be met. So let's go ahead and skip ahead just a little bit, get some more workers in, and get ready to start expanding into the worker phase of the game. All right, so we have jumped ahead just a little bit here, and I have 140 workers. As you can see as well, though, my farmer workforce has diminished. So we will, at some point, need to build more farmer homes to make up the additional workforce that we need. But go ahead and get yourself 140, 150 workers to get started. Why do you want that many? Well, we've got to get some stuff built up here. The first thing you always want to get going is your clay pits and some brick factories. Okay, you want to get clay pits and brick factories going so you can start making pigs and slaughterhouses. Don't worry about this trade union right now. That is a much later building that you're not going to do anything with right now. But you want to get bricks and sausages going as soon as possible. One good thing is as soon as you get to the worker phase of the game, Archie over here will start selling bricks shortly. It may take him a few minutes, but he will start selling bricks. So you might want to get your flagship over here to pick up bricks that he's selling so you can supplement your brick industry with some purchased bricks. So I'm going to go ahead, get everything set up and running, and then we're going to take a look at the next part of the workers. All right, so we have done a little bit of expansion here. We have put in ourselves a pig farm as well as a slaughterhouse. Now, as we continue going through the series, I'm going to go explain less and less about the exact ratios for everything, because you are going to have to start learning these ratios on your own and how to see this. But for the slaughterhouse, we need one pig farm for one slaughterhouse. They both take 1 minute, so that's an easy 1-to-1. Bricks actually gets into one of these, let's just call it slightly more advanced kind of chains, because a clay pit works at 30 seconds. A brick factory is at 1 minute. So that means one clay pit can produce, or support rather, 2 brick factories. So we have done that right here. We have our 1 clay pit and we have 2 brick factories. Now, as you can see, we're also a little low on our current workforce needs right here, but I'm not going to upgrade more farmers at the moment, because once I get the sausages coming in and supplied, we're going to get 3 additional workers per home, per worker house. So that's going to take care of our additional worker workforce. That's also going to unlock our bread, the church, as well as sales, and our sailing shipyard, so we can get ready to start exploring and taking other islands. So at this point in the game, you may want to consider going in and starting doing a little passive trading at your trading post. It would be a good idea to set up buy orders for construction materials. So what we want to do is go to your trading post, click on bricks, for example, and let's set buy. And then we're going to take this slider right here, and we're going to drag it all the way to the top. This is going to tell the Archibald to sell me as many bricks as he can until I get to 75. We're going to do the same thing with steel beams. And then let's take a look at our consumer goods. I have a lot of fish and work clothes and schnapps. I'm probably not going to need that much fish. So if I click on that, let's say buy and sell. And let's put a balance, and let's say I just want to have maybe 30 in stock. So now the AI will come around, buy fish, and keep me at 30. And then if I go under 30, he will sell me some fish. Now, it does cost more to purchase goods from the AI than it does to sell, but it's a good way to keep your goods balanced. I do have a full guide breakdown about how passive trading works. That's going to be linked in the pinned comments down below. Recommend you go check it out so you can get a better idea of how passive trading works in the game. But we're going to set that with fish and schnapps and work clothes. So right here is a good spot to talk about the newspaper real quick. The newspaper is a set of articles that are randomly taken from events that have happened since the last newspaper article has published. It seems to prioritize things like diplomacy and any sort of goods depletion, like if you don't have goods in stock, basically. It seems to prioritize those, but for the most part, they are random articles. As long as everything is green, you're good. Just go ahead and publish away. However, if you have some negative articles, you can click Edit, and then choose how you might want to, if you don't want the negative article, you can just have the negative article. It's not a big deal, but you could choose to cover it up. It costs influence to cover up any negative article with propaganda. We could choose just a distraction article, which is the cheapest at 10. We could add +5 happiness for all of our people for 30 influence, or +5% income for 25 influence. Since I don't have any negative articles to cover up, I'm not going to use any, but you could use propaganda. Just remember, if you use propaganda continuously, you will start building up negative happiness modifiers on your residents. They do go up to, I believe it's -15 happiness if you continuously use propaganda, and it takes several newspapers with no propaganda in them to start getting rid of that -15, and it will start stepping down back to 0. Some of the later propaganda articles are really, really powerful. Things like there are austerity propaganda measures, which can decrease consumption. There are more consumerism that greatly increases your income. There's lots of different types of propaganda. Use propaganda at your own risk. Make sure you can counter that -15 unhappiness if you use propaganda too much. There is a special note that if you are using the Anarchist DLC and you have Mercier in your game, there is special anarchist propaganda that costs no influence, that has some positives and negatives with it. One of the most powerful one is a plus 20% production boost for all industries and all factories and all farms. Any production chain gets a plus 20% production boost at the cost of minus or how should I say it? Increased illness chance of 50%. So while your people will get sick more often, you will get a flat 20% production boost. It's really, really powerful. So newspaper, as long as it's all green, you're good. If you see any negatives, don't worry about them too much unless you really want to cover them up. There is one article that a lot of people get confused on, and that is the minus 10% to consumption, or the plus 10% rather, I'm sorry, plus 10% to consumption rates for if you are missing a good. Sometimes you'll get an article that will say that a lack of coffee, for instance, and it will show that you are going to have an increased consumption of 10%. That is only on coffee in all of your regions. It does not affect every single good. It is only on coffee. So if you are not supplying a good at all, like say, let's just say coffee again, for instance, if you get that negative article because you're not supplying coffee, but you haven't supplied coffee at all to any of your residents, then it's not going to have any effect on you whatsoever. So just be aware of that. The consumption articles only affect the good that is listed. All right, so we have skipped ahead just a little bit more in our game here, and as you can see, I have expanded the city out more. We've also built ourselves a church, which is one of the happiness needs for our workers. It only supplies happiness, no coin or anything. But I did build the church so I could keep our happiness good and high, and I don't have to worry about it. I've also expanded our production a little bit more. As we expanded out into more farmers and more workers, we started using more and more goods. So I had to build some more fisheries, another schnapps, and some more work clothes. And as you can see, I'm also getting really close to needing even more schnapps and more work clothes. So I will have to keep an eye on that and continue expanding those industries as needed. We're currently making 269 coins, and we have a little population of about 834. 4, 5-ish, something like that. Workforce balance is doing okay. Few extra farmers, few extra workers, all is well. Now, here comes a point in the game where a lot of people screw up. This is where a lot of people screw up. Because they see the steel beams, and they throw it down, and they get going on that, and then all of a sudden, they're like, oh my god, why am I broke? What's going on? This is ridiculous. You do not need to build the steel beams chain right now. It's not necessary. You only need about 30 or 40 steel beams to get yourself up to Artisans. That's it. There's no need to build this. Archibald sells steel beams. You can go and buy some from him if you need some extra. And that's going to be all you need to do to get yourself into Artisans. Don't try to do steel beams in the worker phase. It's extremely expensive. We take a look at it right here. The Steelworks itself takes 200 workforce and 200 maintenance. The furnace takes 100 workers and 100 maintenance. The iron mine takes 50 and costs 50. And the charcoal kiln takes 10 and 20. It is a very, very expensive chain for this phase of the game. I would not recommend building it at all. Instead, buy some steel beams and use those to get yourself into Artisans and start making some more money before you try to build your own steel beams. It does cost more coin overall, but you can make more coin by selling goods. You can't do a whole lot about your balance by selling goods because selling goods does not affect your balance, but selling goods does affect your total amount of coin. So sell goods and use that to buy the steel beams instead of trying to eat into your per minute balance, okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get our soap up and running. We're not going to worry about weapons. There's no one to fight, really. The pirates are on the map, but as you can see right here, I have a ceasefire with the pirates. It costs about 20,000 coins to get a ceasefire initially, and it lasts for 2 hours. Highly recommend doing that as soon as you uncover and meet the pirates. Get that ceasefire going for 2 hours. That way they won't attack you. And after 2 hours, as long as your reputation is still, because you get 8 points of reputation for signing a ceasefire with them. I gave her a little gift to increase it by an extra 2 points. As long as you keep your reputation slowly going up, the cost of the ceasefire keeps going down. So it's an investment in your future, because eventually you can get trade agreements with her and you'll make a ton of money. So definitely try to pay off the pirates as soon as you can. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get soap up and running. We're going to get ourselves up to beer and the police station and start unlocking the last few things that we need in the worker phase. Now, this next part is specific to those of you who own the Bright Harvest DLC. Bright Harvest adds in a lot of new ways to deal with your farms and animal farms in the game. Early on in the worker phase, once you unlock the bread chain, you will unlock silos. Silos are a lovely, lovely addition that you can add to your animal farms to increase their output by relatively 133%. Okay, what I mean by that is we're going to click that silo, we're going to place it, and then we're going to look and see that it needs some grain. Well, I already have some grain farms going over here to supply our windmill. It takes 2 grain farms to supply 1 windmill, so I'm going to need 1 more grain farm. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this because it's a nice square. And then I'm actually going to bring it right over here, I think, somewhere. Yeah, I think we're going to bring him right about there. That way he's kind of close to where my silos are going to be. And what's going to happen is once this is up and running, then we're going to get some grain coming into this. And it is going to increase the output by 100%. And then the silo itself also has an effect where you get 1 extra good every 3rd cycle. So that's what I mean by an effective 133% increase right there on the wool. So 1 grain farm can support 5 silos. That is an unbuffed grain farm. By unbuffed, I mean it has no modifiers to increase its production past its usual production time of 1 minute. Silos take 5 minutes, so that is 5 silos to 1 grain farm. So what you want to do is you want to take as many of your animal farms and build silos on them all. We're going to put 1 on that one, 1 on that one, I'm going to put 1 on this one. And then we're going to wait. We're going to let that grain catch up, and then we will see what our production is. Actually, before we do that, let's just take a quick look and see where we're at right now. As you can see, I am underproducing wool by 2, so I don't have enough wool at the moment. I am perfect on pigs, though. So let's catch up with our silos and see where we're at after that. All right, so we've taken a little time and I've let everything catch up and get running. I also decided to move this sheep farm down here just because I wanted to. So now if we go and take a look at our productions and everything here, we can see now our wool is at 11 supply to a demand of 6. So now we are making more than enough wool to last us for a little while at the cost of a handful of farmers for that grain farm and a little bit of resources to build the silos. I didn't have to take up more space with more sheep farms. I didn't have to take up more maintenance costs with more sheep farms. All I had to do was throw down some silos and a single grain farm. Now, let's take a look at the pigs, because I do have everything where the pigs paused. I tossed us down 1 rendering works and 1 soap factory. So let's turn all of this on. Let me get back to regular speed here. Turn all of this on and also turn back on the slaughterhouse. And let's see if this 1 pig farm right here is going to be okay. It's okay for the moment. 1 pig farm is supplying 1 rendering works and 1 pig farm, but there's a problem. That 1 rendering works is actually not enough. I need another rendering works to make more tallow for our soap. So if I go ahead and I place down 1 more rendering works and we take a look at it here, now we are slightly underproducing on the pigs, so we do need to make 1 more pig farm. That is the power of silos. Silos allow you to get away with having fewer animal farms for roughly the same amount of output, if not a little bit more. It's really, really good. So definitely, if you have Bright Harvest, make sure you're using those silos. If you don't have Bright Harvest, I highly recommend you get it. All right, so we have gone ahead and expanded out just a little bit more. We've now unlocked our beer production as well as the police station, which we won't need right now because our people are super, super happy. So I don't really need a police station because all they do is handle riots. And as long as your people are super happy, you're generally not going to have any riots. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Again, I'm keeping up with production, as you can see. I did have to expand out our schnapps production and our work clothes, but we are still making more than enough of everything. So it is time to talk about taking other islands. Now, the beer chain is the first chain where you have goods that you may or may not have on your island. Typically, your starting island will always have grain on it. Typically, it will always have grain and potatoes, and then the other two resources are random. Now, we got lucky, and we do have hops on this island, which we need for beer. But for the sake of this video, I am going to pretend like we do not have hops on this island, and that I need to find an island with hops. So I already kind of scouted out, and I found an island right here that has hops on it. So what I'm going to do is take our flagship, and I'm going to load it up with, let's see, 8 steel beams, because that's how much you need to settle a new island. And I'm going to take 100 timber. And we're going to come down here and we're going to settle this island and get ourselves another little settlement going and have our first colony expansion. Now, as you're continuing on and you're getting ready to settle stuff, if you notice that your income has dropped considerably from buying different goods and things like that, what you might want to do is take a look under the statistics button on your trading post and kind of see what's going on. As we can see, I have spent 15,000 coins buying stuff from Archie. Pretty much it's because of all of the steel beams for the most part, the occasional bricks that he's selling me as well, but it's mostly the steel beams. Right now, I've got 50 steel beams. That's more than enough. So what I have done is I have turned off the buy option for the steel beams as well as the bricks. I have plenty of all of that. I don't need to buy any more. I'm also producing sales now, and I am going to set those at a buy and sell. Typically, you don't need many sales, so they're a good little commodity to set up for the trade off and sell. There's going to be a few people in the comments, I am very, very sure, that are going to be like, oh, don't forget about soap. Yes, soap is amazing early game. Soap can be sold to Eli over here at the prison. He has a request for soap. He buys an infinite amount of soap. He never stops wanting soap for 384 coins per ton. Why is that so good? Soap normally only sells for 96 coins each. Eli buys it for 384 instead, so this is a special pricing on that. Potatoes are also a special price at 32. Archie buys coal at 32, and Madame Kahina buys, well, it's not there yet, but she'll buy fur coats for like 900 something, I think. It's kind of insane. So that's something to keep in mind, is you can sell soap to Eli for a large amount of money. All right, guys, so we have our little village down here of Catester set up. Very, very simple, just some farmers, a pub, so they have a little bit of happiness, and we can take care of a little bit of coin from it. We're not going to do schnapps down here, just the pub, that way they stay at least content, if nothing else. And a fishery to get them supplied. That's all we're going to give them for right now. And I set up 2 hop farms and 2 grain farms down here. That way I can supply 1 brewery and 1 malt house. And that's all I want for the moment. So how am I going to get this back over there? Well, I had ourselves a shipyard. And remember, I was also making sails. So I've built a schooner. What we're going to do is we're going to open up that trade route menu. We're going to select Catester. We're going to select Flaley. Then we're going to go right here to load good. And I'm going to tell it to load 1 cargo slot of hops and 1 cargo slot of grain. And then I'm going to click unload and then accept. And now this little guy right here is going to go back and forth and grab hops and grain and bring them back and drop them off. From there, the grain is going to go to the malt house to be turned into malt. And then the malt and the hops are going to go to the brewery to make beer to give us some money to offset the slightly enormous cost of making said beer. All right, guys, and we are reaching the end of the video finally. We have our everything in the worker tier unlocked now, including the school, which we have placed right here, kind of central in the middle, nearest to all of our workers. We have a nice balance of extra workforce on both farmers and workers. We have a good little balance income of 746. We have lots of coin in the bank. Getting ready as well to sign another ceasefire agreement with Anne Harlow, which will probably cost somewhere between 18 and 19k. The reason I've got so much money so quickly was because I've been doing quests for the AI. Don't forget to do quests for the AI as they pop up. They do give you a decent amount of cash and everything. We got a little gunboat thing right here. Our flagship can easily handle a gunboat. So always remember to keep doing quests for the AI whenever they pop up on the map. It's a good way to get a little extra money. I've also set up another trade route. We take a look right here. We have a trade route selling soap to Eli. This right here is picking up all the extra soap that we are producing because I set what is called minimum stock. Minimum stock is how much you want to keep in your warehouse for your internal trade routes. These buttons right up here and the slider whenever you set them, this slider right here is for external trade routes, like the AI coming to buy stuff from you. Minimum stock, or the right-hand slider over here with the lock on it, is internal trade routes. So my soap trade route will pick up all soap over 20 and sell that to Eli for some cash. And that's going to help keep my coin coming in and keep our balance going up. So from here, we are basically ready to move on to the artisan phase. We have everything supplied, everything is taken care of. We take a look at our production statistics. We can see that we have a very, very nice supply and demand balance. We're producing a little extra fish because I did have to build another fishery, but those are cheap, not a big deal. Schnapps, work clothes, sausages, bread, soap, and beer are doing just fine. When we upgrade to artisans, remember, these are going to go down in our demand because we won't need them anymore, but sausages and bread will, so that's something to consider for the next episode. So with that, guys, that is it for the worker phase of the game. Just some basic overviews of how to get through this tier, keep your money going, keep that going up, how to set up basic trade routes, and what to do to get yourself ready for artisans. And remember, the biggest key to a lot of this is don't do steel beams. Just buy about 50, and that's all you need. I've still got 22 steel beams. That is enough for 11 artisan buildings. So it's perfectly fine. You could upgrade to get some artisans. You'll have plenty of cash coming in. Then think about doing steel beams. But I would not do it before. And with that, guys, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Until then, take care.